Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back. This is the part 3 of the Golang Collie crawler series where we're building an IMDB crawler using Golang and the Collie library. In the first video of this series, we had seen the approach on how we'll write the code. In the second video of the series, we had started writing our the outline of our func main and func crawl, and we had defined our structs and our file main.go. If you have not seen those two videos, I highly recommend you do that. And now this is the third part. This is the third video. So we're going to write the inside inner working details of our func main and func crawl. Okay, so let's get started. So inside my func main, you can see that I'm passing pointers of month and day into my func crawl, right? So why am I passing pointers? It's because I want to so I can directly pass the month and day directly 1 and 1 here to this function, but I'm not doing that. I'm passing a pointer. That's because I want to create a variable called month, and I want to create a variable called day, and I want to set them up in such a way that if I were to take month and day later on from a user from the command line, I would be able to do that. I would be able to parse those inputs, right? So I'm going to use the flag library to parse those inputs. And right now I'm going to write here statements that will almost mimic how a user would enter it into a command line. So this is completely optional, by the way. You don't have to do all of this. You can just pass 1 and 1 here, or whatever dates you want to pass here. Anyways, the crawl function expects integers, right? So it's completely optional, but this is just a good approach. This is just a good way of doing things. So you can follow along. So we'll say flag int month comma 1 comma want to fetch both days for. Okay, so this is our month, and our day will have flag dot int day comma 1. So 1, by the way, is the first month, January, that I'm going to pass here. I'm going to pass January here, and the day of January, which is the 1st of January, I'm going to pass 1 again in the day as well, right? So basically I'm passing the 1st of January as the entire date, right? So that means that on our IMDB we'll be scraping the values of the people, of the stars who have their birth dates on the 1st of Jan. Basically that's what we're trying to do, right? So day to fetch birthdays for. So we have passed 1 and 1 here to the crawl function. Inside the crawl function now, what we'll do is we have to create something called as a start URL. Okay, the start URL takes the values month and day and creates a URL that can be used by the IMDB advanced search function. So if you remember, in the first video of this series, I had shown you the advanced search functionality in IMDB, right? You have to build a query. So that's what we're doing. So start URL is basically the query that we're building. All right, so sprint f, and I'll write https. Okay, and just carefully write this exact same link that I'm writing, imdb.com. This is basically the link for the advanced search query, okay, on IMDb. So we'll say imdb.com/search/name, because we want the names of all the stars. So we'll say, and after name we have to put a slash and then question mark. Now the query begins, right? So for the birth, and then underscore, just remember there's an underscore after birth, all right? And then month day is equal to, let me just remove this part so that you can see it better. So month day is equal to %d and dash %d, all right? This %d basically, since I'm using sprintf, I can replace that by month and day. So month and day, whatever is passed from here. Now I can directly write 1 and 1 here, right? I don't have to write %d, but I'm just following a very modular approach where I pass these months and days into this function. I accept that in these month and day variables, and those variables I substitute that here with %d, right? So that's the right way of doing things. That's how I'm doing it. You can feel free to just put 1 and 1 out here, doesn't matter. So now so C is going to be an instance of our Collie crawler. We have not defined it yet. We'll define that in this function right now, but I'm just showing you that we'll use the visit function inside the Collie library to start crawling this start URL that we have just built, right? We built the query. So now we'll have to start writing the other part. So we'll have to start defining our C. All right, so C is equal to collie dot new collector. All right, so collie dot allowed domains. Now this is something, so if you're new to Golang and you're thinking, hey, I've not seen new collector before, what is it? You're supposed to be confused. It's completely all right, because this is a function specific to collie library. Okay, so this creates a new collector, okay, a new crawler, whatever you want to call it, and we're going to define the allowed domains. So the allowed domains are imdb.com in this case, and it's www.imdb.com. So we have 2 allowed domains. All right, and now, so if you had seen the first video, right, you remember that we're going to create 2 different crawlers or 2 different instances of the collie library. One is going to be called C, the other is going to be called info collector, right? So the C, we're going to use it to crawl through the data that's received here, right? All the profiles that's received here. But we'll be able to crawl through the profiles, but we won't be able to go inside the profile, right? So to go inside each profile, we'll have to use info collector, which is going to be a separate instance of C, right? The crawler C. All right, so one crawler we have going through the pages and through all the links, and another crawler we'll have that will go through each of the profiles of those links. Okay, so let's create our info collector. Info collector is equal to C dot clone. Okay, we're just cloning C. C.clone again is a function that's specific to the collie library. You can clone it. And now we'll start writing our functions for C and for info collector. All right. So the first function that we want to write is to be able to go through all the profile URLs. So even if it looks confusing, don't worry. It's actually pretty straightforward. So mode detail is the ID on the IMDB page. All right, func E, and we accept a pointer to HTML element. Okay, collie HTML element. So all we need are profile URLs, right? We want to go over all the profile URLs. So we'll say e.child attribute div.lister. So this is specific to IMDB. There's something called as div.lister, item image, and child is a comma href. All right, and this part obviously will change for every single website that you try and scrape. So if you go to any website, you right click, you inspect, you'll be able to see these type of divs and these IDs that every specific website uses. So this is specific to IMDB. File URL is equal to e.request. So we'll make a request absolute URL using the profile URL. Okay. So we have the profile URLs, we have made a request to them, but we'll use info collector to actually visit the profile URL. All right, because our C collector just goes over the profiles, right? It doesn't visit each of the profiles, but our info collector visits each of the profiles and gets this data for us, right? The star data. All right, I hope I'm making sense till now. So now I think we'll cut this video short, and then what we'll do is we'll write another function for c.onHTML to go to the next page. So when a list of the stars come here, when we run this query, then you also get next, right? Those paginations. So we want our C instance to be able to click on the next button to be able to go to the next list. And then we'll have our info collector where we'll actually start making sense of the data that we get and start putting it into these variables, right? So we have to write two separate things. So I hope everything is clear till now. If you have any doubts, if you have any issues, you can put them in the comments section below. And thanks a lot for watching. And do say subscribe so that you come to know when the next video comes out for this series.